So Brother Rick, the lectureship book is a job with which I'm privileged to partake of laying it out. It is not as fun as it might sound. I know someone might be sitting at home going, I'd love to lay out a lectureship book.
Doesn't sound like fun at all to me.
It is tough. I mean, like, every page of that book has to be touched and laid out by Dad and myself. And so it's a long process that happens. And so normally, a couple of years ago at least, I would be in Pigeon Forge for like the whole month of February, and we'd be putting final touches on the book and doing everything. When I finish the book, I have a MO. I usually go to the movies. And if there's an availability to do so, I do a triple feature, which is rare. Don't always get to do that. But on this occasion, I could. I'd already bought my tickets. I was at the theater whole day. That was my plan. From like 1 p.m. until 9 p.m., I was going to be at the movies. And then I would, shame eat McDonald's on the way back to the hotel. And so I was ready. While I'm in the first movie, I get a phone call from Dad. And I'm like, oh, it's probably nothing. That was my first mistake.
It's always something.
And so I finished the first movie. During the second movie, I get a second phone call from Dad. I'm like, now I'm thinking something might be wrong. So I answer him. And he said, hey, I just wanted you to know I'm about to paginate the book and it's done and we're sending it off today. And I said, oh, that's great. And I said, I'm just here at the theater, doing my thing. And he goes, oh, I really hope you enjoy it. This rest, we can rest now. Third movie, I get another phone call from Dad. I think I'll ignore it. He knows I'm at the theater. He calls back 3 more times. And I'm like, now I got to answer. So I walk out of the theater and I answer and he said, Michael, I don't know how I did it, but I was trying to get the book to go to PDF and somehow I pressed a feature that completely redid all of the formatting and messed up the layout on each page. And I said, man, that's going to stink that you have to fix. No, I said,
I hate that for you, really.
I told him, I said, well, I'm in a movie right now. It's halfway done. I said, are you okay if I stay and finish it? I said, I'm awake. Dutch Bros had just opened in Pigeon Forge in the Sevierville area. So I was like, I can go to Dutch Bros and get a Rebel and I can stay up. And that year, I left the theater, grabbed food on the way to Dutch Bros, grabbed a Rebel, and grabbed a second Rebel. I went back to the hotel room, and I was up for like 18 straight hours finishing the book. And that was one of the worst times ever for me with the book. But it was the second time that Dad deleted something with the book. In 2007, he deleted the entire book. And it was almost done. And so, he's not here to defend himself. I got to tell this story because it's funny. Because when you're working on the book, you get really tired. And so certain things that you would normally think of, you don't always think immediately. So Brother Sane this year had a chart that he put in the book. And I had to make the chart in Canva. I spec'd the sizes of the page and everything. And I built the chart and I put it into InDesign and it was done. And I told him, I said, hey, chart's ready to go. We're good on Brother Sane's for you to proof it and make sure it's good as far as grammar and all that kind of stuff and the formatting and we're done. So was it Tuesday?
Yeah.
Tuesday, he calls me and he says, I was up last night for 4 hours working on Paul Sane's manuscript because his chart, when I zoomed in, was blurry. And I said, and I let him finish and I said, Dad, when you zoom in to an image like that in InDesign, it lets you zoom all the way into the last pixel. And I said, it will look blurry because you've zoomed in further than anyone ever will. And he goes, please tell me you're kidding. And I said, no, the chart was fine. And he goes, no. I said, I'm so sorry, Dad, but yes. And so as we were hanging up, I said, hey, I'm going to give you a pro tip about InDesign. Don't zoom in. He goes, I'm hanging up on you. And so there's things like that about InDesign that are frustrating. Do you remember when we were training you and Cindy in InDesign and you got upset about the save feature? Do you remember that?
I remember something about it, yeah.
You know, on a Mac, you've got the dots over here, the closeout buttons, instead of on the right side for a PC. And so on the Mac, if you're in a program like Pages or something like that, if you haven't saved, there'll usually be a red circle with a black dot in the middle of it, indicating to you, hey, you've got unsaved work, so you need to save it. So we're teaching them how to do this, and Wayne goes, how do I know if it's been saved? And he starts like getting upset, like he's mad that InDesign is not doing this. And I said, look to the top left. I said, do you see that dot in the middle of the red circle? He goes, yeah. And I said, hit Command S. And he didn't. He goes, hey, it went away. I said, that means you saved it. And he goes, oh, but you can tell him now about the Edge tool in Canva.
Go ahead.
No, me.
Finish.
This was,
I know. Just finish the rest of it because it was just maybe the next day, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I made fun of him mercilessly for how obvious this was and how he missed it. Because that's our friendship. We're mean to each other, but we really do love each other deep down. Deep down. So the next day, we're in Canva designing something for the network or for the school or whatever. And I'm now panicking. And I think it'd only be fair if you got to...
I'm trying to remember what it was.
It was the curved edge tool.
The curved edge.
In Canva. Do you remember?
Yeah, it's just a button right there on the side
that fixes edges to fit into certain portions that wouldn't normally fit. And I don't remember how I was doing it, but Cindy goes, why are you doing it that way? And I was like, because it's the only way to, and I started ranting.
Yeah.
And then Cindy said, hey, watch this, and pressed a button, and she immediately curved it to how it was supposed to be. I said, how did you do that? And she goes, the button that's right there next to the arrow. And I said, oh, Wayne did not let me.
It's all about learning, man. It's really
learning curve.
It's learning curve, literally.
It is. And so, that those are some of the things that happen. Of course, if you're at home watching or listening, we have Rick Lawson with us today. And we have Wayne, also known as the Trailhead Truth Teller, because he's outdoorsy and allergic to exaggeration. And so we are glad that we have these guys with us today to tell some stories. Open discussion now. Anybody that wants to tell stories, Brother Rick, if you got some, go ahead. Stop trying to read these. I'm never going to let you see them.
No,
I have 180 left, and I'm going to use every one of them. Probably.
Brother Rick's got some stories.
Go ahead.
We're going to let him start.
You guys, I've been at this a while. I keep up with it because I started preaching before my son was born. He turned 32 this year. So I've been preaching 30 some odd years, 32, 33 years. And you guys have probably never preached at a congregation that only had an outhouse. But I did that in Arkansas. One of my jobs when I preached in Arkansas was to travel around to congregations that needed a preacher.
Yeah.
And I went to this little church in a beautiful location up in the mountains. And I started looking around for the bathroom, and they said, we just have an outhouse. It was a long way down there from the church building too. I never went down there and used it. But when you, that's almost like going back in time.
It is, man. Wow. But that tells you about some of those little community, old communities, and just they haven't updated a lot of that stuff.
That's right. That's right. I used to go out there, and I was always paranoid that I wouldn't get there in time. So I would leave really early, and I'd get there super early. And a lot of times I would be the first one there, just kind of sitting in the parking lot. One time the weather was really cold, and I noticed some people pulled up kind of early, and they went inside and lit a fire or started the heaters or whatever they did. And when Bible class, closer to time to Bible class, the crowd started getting bigger, but it was still really chilly in that building. And I got up and started the Bible class, and as I did, it started getting warmer because the heaters were on now.
Mm-hmm.
It also warmed up a wasp nest that was in the building, and they started buzzing around, flying all around. I was like, I think I would rather it be cold and the wasps stay still than start buzzing around in here. But you never know what you're going to get into in some of those country congregations.
I'm curious where this congregation is because and there's a bunch of them out there. I understand, but this one, there's some familiarity
Yep.
to this congregation,
Yep.
so I may have been out there. I'm wondering.
It was a little congregation called Midway, and it was halfway between two nowhere spots. It was way out in the sticks.
I may have done a funeral there.
Really?
Yeah.
You would standing in the church parking lot was the most beautiful, breathtaking view of the mountains, Ouachita Mountains, of any congregation I've ever been to.
Wow.
Beautiful place out in the country, but small little church and kind of back in time almost.
There's so much familiarity when you start talking about that. I did a funeral for a brother that had passed, and his family were all from there. Yeah, obviously.
I would hope so.
Yes, I caught it. Don't worry. I don't need that from you.
You're going to die, metaphorically speaking. We're going to do your funeral.
Clearly. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and do this preemptively. But anyway, so his wife had asked me to go and to do the funeral, and he had requested for me to do this. And his family, they were all from that area and had been buried, out nearby. The cemetery wasn't far. And, but I remember this congregation. I didn't use the outhouse either. I do remember an outhouse, but I don't remember that was their only, but I remember them because it was cold out there. But I remember the mountains in the background. So that, especially when you said that, it's got.
Someone told me they remodeled the church building and installed a bathroom. So maybe since then things have changed, but that was many years ago.
Well, have you heard about the family of the congregation that raised a fuss when they found out the church was determining whether they were going to have indoor plumbing? You heard about that story? The legend of the story is that the congregation had only had an outhouse for years, and that a family found out the church was considering, putting in indoor plumbing, and they got mad about that. They didn't think it was a good use of the Lord's money or whatever it was, but they raised a fuss about it, and they left. And they went to a congregation that already had indoor plumbing. And so,
well, they didn't have to give the money for it. So
yeah,
I guess okay.
That was the issue. It was just stewardship. But you said the wasness heated up. I was filming Text Takeaways here. And as I'm filming, I think it was back in September that the bee happened, Adam. Do you remember that? He killed it.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen. So
it didn't happen.
Moving on. But I'm filming Text Takeaways, and there's a bee flying. And I'm noticing it, and I'm thinking, and it's on the teleprompter, because the way that teleprompter works, there's a mirror. And I noticed that on the teleprompter, I'm like, that looks like there's a bee inside the teleprompter, but it was the way the mirror was working. And then it was flying around, and I thought, please do not land on me while I am talking about 1 John, because I can know with certainty that if that bee landed on me, I would have flipped out.
Squealed
and so
like a little girl, wouldn't you?
I managed to finish the episode. And then I told Adam, I said, do you see the bee that's in here? And he goes, yeah, I thought I heard some buzzing or whatever. So I said, we should probably try to kill it. All of a sudden, Thor comes out of the director's chair with a hammer. He's looking for the bee, and he kills it with the hammer. And I was like, well, but now that's the second time an unwanted creature has interrupted filming here. Because, years ago we had a possum, a baby possum that walked by right as we were about to start filming. And so there's always good stuff with that. But what other stories might you have that you want to bring to the table?
Well, since you bring up unwanted animals,
when
I was preaching in Tennessee, I heard a blood-curdling scream from the women's bathroom. And a lady ran out and got her husband, and he ran in and came out with a snake. Caught a snake in the ladies' bathroom, and she was not very pleased that thing had gotten in the building.
Wow.
So you just never know.
Yeah. Y'all are going to the Philippines, did you say, by the way? Just check everything, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little, oof.
Sure will.
I don't
Scary
know
stuff.
if I ever told this one on Did That Really Happen or not. Bradley, if I did, just say yes. But when we moved into our house, I was upstairs in the attic. Megan's deathly afraid of snakes. Well, there was a mouse trap and a massive black snake was on it. And I didn't catch it at first that it was there. And so I'm going to reach down in that area, and I noticed it, and I jumped way back because I thought it was still alive. And I thought, it's on there, but it could still kill me. Like, kill me. I didn't know what kind of snake it was, but I just assumed it was venomous, as all snakes are.
Yeah.
And I, being the good husband that I am, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I call Megan in. And I say, honey, I said, my back's kind of bothering me. Could you bend down there and grab?
Up, man.
So Megan sees it, and she jumped almost out of the house. Like, it was the highest I've ever seen anyone jump that was not in the NBA. And I said, I think it's dead, because it didn't move at all when I got close to it. But I took a hockey stick and I got it out. And it was the only time I've ever done this, and hopefully the only time I'll ever have to do it again. Where it had looped and got stuck, it had been dead for so long, it was like a fossil. Hard as a rock. I mean, it had, it had been dead a while. I took the hockey stick and looped the snake through the blade of the hockey stick and carried it down the stairs and threw it away. But I've always wondered, how did it get in? Because it was in the attic of our house. Wasn't like it was in the garage. It had slithered into the house and got in there somehow. And I don't think I'll care on the day of judgment, but if I remember, I might ask. I would like to know how that happened. What other stories might you guys have, if any?
I was preaching filling in Dresden, Tennessee for Eli Sells, just on a Sunday morning, but there were bad storms in the area that day. And so we got there, and we were just drenched with rain. And I didn't know the congregation, so we had gotten there, tried to get there early, and we were trying to, there were no doors unlocked yet. There was one sister who was waiting in her car for somebody to open the door, and I thought maybe I should just go and just check, and so I ran over and checked, and it was locked. So I ran back, and she said, somebody will be here in a minute. So, okay. So I went and their parking is kind of strange, like on three sides, kind of on the street, on two of those sides, and kind of anyway. And so I was trying to find a place for my truck, because it's, hanging out in the highway and stuff. So I'm trying to park in the right place. Anyway, so just kind of a number of things that were just off that morning, but we had our granddaughter with us also during that time. And so Piper was there. And so we were trying to be good grandparents, and we were having fun with her, and no matter the situation. And so, that morning everybody starts getting there. And so we get her inside, and I've got all my stuff, to set up, and going to run PowerPoint, because I was going to present 416 that morning in Bible class, and then I was going to preach. So everything was, had all this stuff to plug up and get started. And so my mind is just all over the place, and, being out of, sync with having a 3-year-old with us, or at that time 2-year-old with us, and having to deal with that. So it was probably throwing me off a little bit that morning too. But anyway, and the storm, keep in mind the storm. Bible class goes fine. Couldn't get the PowerPoint working. So I'm just working off of, just nothing, because I use it for the notes too. So I'm just going off memory, just doing the best I can. And we get done with that. And Piper's a champ. She went to Bible class, had a good time, comes back out. And anyway, so worship starts in the next hour, and it's really, it's coming down outside, and it got dark all of a sudden. And then the lights went out. Well, the lights went out while I'm about a minute into my sermon. And I've got my iPad, so I've got my notes, but, and I start seeing phones pick up and come on, and stuff like that. And so people are trying to, and so, well, Piper says, well, Grandpa, turn the lights on, in the middle of everything being quiet, or whatever. And I had just kind of paused for a second, and thinking, okay, well, maybe they have a generator in this old building, or it's going to kick on. They don't. And of course, and, so, anyway, so I'm preaching on. And so I decide after a few minutes, because I don't have a microphone at this point anyway, so why am I standing up here? Let me move down, be a little bit closer. And Well, again, this is not this is not a stage area that I know very well. And so they had a couple of steps and a set of steps that were all the way to each side. So I'm trying to fumble around and I literally stumbled down the steps, the first set of steps. And then I know I've got maybe 4 feet. And then I'm going to hit another one to be on the floor with everybody else, and everything. Well, I hit the floor. It wasn't the way I wanted to hit the floor, and I'm like, so I'm clearly stumbling. And of course, my iPad's shining on me as I'm doing it, and I'm all over the place, just falling off this last step. And I'm going, everybody okay? Just trying to make, just self-deprecation, you just got to roll with it, and everything. And Piper pops up. She goes, I'm okay, Grandpa. Just kind of keeping you humble, as you go. Anyway, I finished the sermon. Everything was fine. Yes.
Did you not have that?
I don't think I had my phone on me. I just had my iPad and my Bible. Okay?
Rookie mistake.
I know.
I always bring the phone into the pulpit.
No. You're right. So anyway, yeah, it was a mess. But anyway, so then people are up there, literally shining towards me. Are you going to be okay, buddy? And I'm like, well, anyway. So it was a mess. But it was just one of those moments. You just have to kind of roll with situations. Sure. But I love that Piper just, she was like having just conversation with me, through the whole thing. I'm okay, Grandpa. So, anyway.
Were there people there that thought that because of your advanced age that you might have crippled yourself falling from the steps and that's why they were so concerned?
They were checking on me later. Yeah.
Okay.
You're okay?
An ambulance shows up. We just figured that in your advanced state,
you clearly needed this, sir.
One of the congregations where I first started preaching had steps right down the front of the pulpit. Mm. And so as I extended the invitation, I could sort of just walk down, right on the front. But then I moved and the other congregation had steps on the side and a long drop off. And I thought to myself, if I ever get in that habit and just walk right straight, I'll fall 3 feet onto the floor in front of me.
Yeah. And every week or every other week being in a different location, it's tricky now.
Yeah, it's not always the same either. That's the hard part is you're used to, as a local preacher, you have one pulpit. That's it. But then when you start traveling, it's like 100 different pulpits throughout the year that you're standing in and going, how's this one work? Yeah. Like you like lose all composure. You're like, I don't even know how to stand now. And what do I do with my hands? And where do I go?
And I went to one and, this thing must have been 8 feet wide.
Oh, that's amazing, though.
It was tremendous, but I didn't know what to do with myself behind it.
You're just back there. Yeah.
I'm like going, I got all this room out here too. It was pretty wild.
How many do you go to that have just a skinny piece of glass podium?
There's not many of those.
That's good. I would hate that.
Because those are the liberal congregations. I don't get invited. No, I'm just kidding.
I went to one and they have like one of those TV trays that you can build that's on wheels as their podium because their normal preacher doesn't use it.
Just doesn't use it, yeah.
And I used to use it as like I'd stand behind it and it just felt like I was waiting on, was it a Hungry Man meal? Is that what it's called? Just kept thinking while I was preaching, like any minute now mom's going to go, it's ready. And so the next time I went there, I stood to the side of it because it was just like, I don't know, I'll just put my Bible on it. But
I remember going to one. You remember the class ones that used to come out? They were all metal, and so you have. It was kind of this piece of a steel, aluminum, whatever. They were real light, and then they had the 3 legs, and it was all just kind of bolted together. And I remember getting up one time in this place or whatever, and I I didn't even set my Bible on. I just put my hand to the side of it. I'd already determined, I just had my Bible. And I was just going to teach class, and down there so it wasn't a big deal. And I was just going to stand to the side of it anyway. But I put my hand on it, and I thought the whole thing was coming apart, underneath me, and everything. And I didn't put all my weight on it even, but just setting my hand on it, and it just kind of kept rolling to the side. It wasn't on wheels. It just kind of leaned to the side, and I took my hand back off of it. And when I got through with class and everything, I looked over, and the whole thing is just leaning to the side. I'm like, I'm glad I didn't use that, man. But there's every place you go to is a little bit different, it's got different setups. And so it's kind of funny. But this past, I don't know, week or two ago, somewhere I was, they had the brother that was kind of running the cameras, and he was in charge of all the IT and stuff like that. So I'd given him my thumb drive, and he's loading up all that and getting it ready and everything. He's like, "No, where are you going to stand?" I'm like, "Well, wherever the preacher, where do I need to stand? You're in charge of the camera." He said, "I can follow you anywhere." I'm like, and so I looked at his setup, and literally there were like cameras all over the building. I mean, he's like, I can catch you from any angle. I said, "Don't do that."
Yeah. My left side's my worst side. Avoid that.
Don't do that. Just tell me where to stand. Where is it normally that people stand? And I'll do that. And don't give me choices here.
Right. It's good to be predictable.
Yes.
Well, and I know that Adairsville at one time at least you had. Do you still have the podium mic or camera set up like
Yes.
it was? That scared me the first time I went to Adairsville, only because it is the closest I've ever had a camera on me while preaching since COVID.
Yeah.
Like
And
COVID days, that was all we had. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
and so, sometimes in preaching, you feel like you could get away with kind of going like that for a second. I knew I could not do that at Adairsville. Someone would be like, he just picked his nose right on the sermon.
At least we don't have a 100 zoom camra just tied on you from the very back.
Just right here.
True.
You know where the camera
Yes.
is and what it's facing.
And I did appreciate that. But do you have anybody that comes to Adairsville and wants to stand by the side of the podium? What would you do with it? You just tilt the camera, I guess?
No, we just
Tell them
we set it and forget it.
Yeah.
And if some of our song leaders don't want to be on camera, so they'll stand at the side,
Yeah.
and do as much as they can from the side.
Mm.
That's fine. We don't.
When Brother Rutherford did Foundations years ago, we filmed it for GBN, I think 2 years. And one of the years he was teaching, I may have told this one, but you haven't heard it, I'm sure. He would move and I was directing, and all of a sudden I'd look up, he was gone. I could still hear him, but he was not in frame. And we didn't have the ability to just go pan the cameras quickly. And so in between his first and second class, I got gaff tape out and I taped it. I said, "You cannot leave this spot." And so I set it super wide and just left it because I was like, I can't, I've got to be able to switch the cameras and get, other things going on. So I can't just follow you the whole time. Mm-hmm. But for several years, I worked at PTP as the camera guy in EHA. And I would always remember I'd have Roger in my ears, and Roger would always go, "Keep steady, one. Keep steady, one." And because if it was someone who was moving a lot, like Mike Vestal, anybody like that was going to move a lot, I would always go, and I'd ask Roger, "Are you sure we can't get like a tiny frame of them, like full body, and just zoom out?" And then I'll just pan. He goes, "No, it's got to be center chest up." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." So, the cameras have advanced quite a bit, but it is still, always fun to watch how the setup is live stream to live stream. But Rick, thanks for being with us. I know we're going to bring you back at some point, knowing you're not too far in the area, and we've appreciated you being here today. Wayne, kick rocks. Yep. Wait, Wayne, let me pull it back up. This is my friend Wayne, also known as Ranger Wayne, because he's a park ranger for plausibility. See you next week.
All right.